They will try to chain you with doubt, to crush you with resistance, to break your will with subtle daggers of envy and fear. But here lies the truth: no man, no force, no world can truly stop you, unless you first surrender your mind. In this lesson, we strip away illusions and learn the art of becoming untouchable. History is not written by the strong of body, but by the ruthless of mind. Men fall not because others strike them, but because they permit themselves to be broken. The world is filled with prisons built not of stone, but of perception. Cages designed by society, enemies, and even those closest to you. Yet, the cunning man learns to slip through these invisible bars. Tonight, we will explore not comfort, but power: how to endure, how to rise, and how to render yourself unbreakable in a world that delights in seeing you kneel. They tell you the world is full of chains. That systems, rulers, enemies, and circumstances bind you. That fate has carved a prison for you before you even take your first breath. But ask yourself, who placed the shackles on your hands? Was it truly another man, or was it you, believing their story? History whispers a truth most cannot bear: no man is broken by chains of iron, but by the surrender of his will. Consider the slaves of Rome. Many bent their heads, accepting their bondage, whispering that the gods had cursed them. But Spartacus looked at the same chains, the same lashes, the same hopeless odds, and he turned his slavery into a war that shook the empire. Did Rome place chains on him? Yes, but it was his refusal to believe in those chains that made him dangerous. Now, turn inward. How often do you tell yourself, "I cannot, because of them. I cannot because of this system. I cannot because I was not given the chance"? This is the whisper of surrender, the voice of a man who has already lost before the battle begins. Do you know why rulers prefer this? Because it costs them nothing. Why break your bones when they can break your belief? Why build walls when they can convince you to never leave your cage? The most brilliant tyrant is not the one who commands armies. It is the one who convinces you that you are powerless without his permission, and you believe it. Look carefully at your own life. The job you think you need, the approval you beg for, the excuses you cling to as if they were shields. Do you see the chains? They are not forged of iron. They are forged of dependence. Dependence is the most exquisite form of slavery. For when you depend, you obey. When you obey, you shrink. And when you shrink, you convince yourself you were never meant to be free. But here is the Machiavellian truth: no obstacle exists outside of your submission. A king is only king because his subjects kneel. A law is only law because men agree to follow it. A limit is only a limit because you decide to respect it. The moment you see through this, you become untouchable. Psychology proves this in cruel precision. A man trapped in a locked room panics. He feels his heart race, his breath shorten. But place that same man in an open field and whisper in his ear that he cannot escape. Many will still obey the whisper more faithfully than the walls. Do you see? The mind is the only true jailer. This is why the powerless always search for excuses. It was society. It was my family. It was the world conspiring against me. But listen carefully. The world conspires against everyone. The only difference is that some bow while others rise. Which one are you? Let us speak plainly. If you tell yourself you are powerless, then you deserve your chains, for you have chosen to kneel. But if you strip away this lie, if you see that no obstacle outside you can hold power unless you feed it, then you stand among the rare few who taste real freedom. This is why powerful men often seem ruthless. It is not cruelty that drives them, but clarity. They refuse to honor illusions. They refuse to worship chains. They refuse to give others the luxury of control. Alexander was told as a child that Persia was too vast to conquer. He laughed. While others worshipped the myth of size, He walked straight through it, and the myth collapsed like smoke in his hand. So I ask you again, what chains do you worship? What walls do you defend as if they were holy, when in truth they are only shadows? The first step to freedom is not escape. It is disbelief. When you refuse to honor the myth of external chains, you render your enemies powerless. They may strike you, they may curse you, they may plot against you, but they cannot bind you unless you consent, and this consent, this surrender of the mind, is the true battlefield. Remember this: no one can imprison a mind that will not kneel. Now we turn to the second lesson. If no external chain can bind you, then what of those who attack you directly? Those who resist you, betray you, and rise against you. Here lies the art not of survival, but of dominance. And it is here we begin to weaponize resistance. Resistance. The one thing you are taught to fear. The wall in your path, the enemy at your throat, the betrayal in your ranks. You are told resistance is a curse. But I tell you, resistance is your sharpest weapon. Why? Because resistance gives shape to your power. Without opposition, strength withers. Without friction, fire dies. The man who meets no resistance lives in illusion, believing himself mighty, when in truth he is fragile and untested. Look at history. Caesar was not forged in quiet halls of safety. He was forged in civil wars, conspiracies, and daggers aimed at his back. Had Rome embraced him without resistance, he would have remained a politician. It was the resistance of men, Pompey, Cato, and eventually Brutus, that carved him into a figure whose shadow still darkens the world. You must understand, every attack you suffer is an unwitting gift. Your enemy does you a favor, though he despises you. For in trying to stop you, he shows you your weaknesses. He reveals where you are soft. He teaches you the exact lesson you need in order to become untouchable. Do you see the inversion? The more they resist, the more they serve you. Your adversaries become your unwilling tutors. Your betrayers become your sculptors. The harder they strike, the sharper you become. But here is where most men fail. They complain. They curse their enemies. They pity themselves for being opposed. And in that moment, they waste the gift. They let resistance wound them, when they could have let it forge them. Now I ask you, when someone betrays you, do you curse their name? Or do you dissect their move, learn their pattern, and grow sharper than before? This is the difference between the ordinary man and the ruler. The ordinary man feels insulted. The ruler feels instructed. Think of steel. When it bends too easily, it is useless. Only under the hammer and flame does it become a sword. Would you call the hammer an enemy? Or would you see it as the hand that shapes the weapon? Psychology confirms this brutal truth. Studies show that individuals who encounter controlled resistance, hardships, challenges, failure, develop resilience, problem-solving, and greater confidence, while those who are sheltered collapse at the first sign of struggle. Comfort breeds softness, opposition breeds armor. So, when the world resists you, when men sneer at you, when doors slam in your face, what will you do? Will you fold and prove them right? Or will you seize the resistance as fuel? Consider Napoleon. Europe united against him. Armies swelled to crush his ambition. Yet, with every alliance formed against him, his brilliance grew sharper. The harder they resisted, the more formidable he became. And though he eventually fell, his legend endures, not because of his victories alone, but because of the monumental resistance that defined him. Even in failure, resistance can immortalize you. It stamps your name into history. Do you think men remember those who faced no opposition? No. They remember those who dared the impossible and those who rose against the tide. Now, let us descend from empires to your own life. Every insult you hear, every rejection you face, every rival who plots against you, do not curse them. Do not run from them. Harvest them. Turn their hatred into hunger. Turn their rejection into proof. Turn their betrayal into wisdom. The cold strategist smiles when resistance appears, for he knows resistance is a mirror, showing him who he really is and who he must become. But there is a higher art still. It is not enough to merely endure resistance. You must bend it to your will. You must let it serve you. How? By turning your enemies into unwilling allies. Their attack feeds your growth. Their opposition fuels your narrative. Their defiance becomes your stage. This is the ultimate inversion, when those who hate you become the reason for your greatness. So next time you feel resistance, pause. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? How can this sharpen me? How can I make this attack, this betrayal, this obstacle into a blade that cuts for me, not against me? Remember, resistance is not a curse. It is the furnace. It is the sculptor. It is the invisible hand that sharpens the ruler while breaking the common man. The question is simple. When resistance comes, and it always does, will it shatter you or will it forge you? In the next lesson, we turn to the darker psychology of those who resist you. Why do they strike? Why do they sabotage? What hunger drives them to break you? Here, we expose the psychology of breakers. Why do men try to stop you? Why do they resist, betray, and break those who dare to rise? Is it justice? Is it morality? Is it some noble defense of order? No. It is envy. It is fear. It is the hunger for dominance clothed in the mask of righteousness. Every breaker you will ever face is driven by these forces. Strip away their excuses, and you will always find one of them at the core. Look at history. Why did Brutus strike Caesar? He cloaked his dagger in the words of liberty, in the preservation of the Republic. But beneath the rhetoric was something simpler, darker. Envy of Caesar's glory. Fear of his unstoppable rise. The hunger to be remembered not as a shadow, but as a man who dared. This is the truth about those who seek to break you. They cannot stand the reflection of their own weakness in your strength. When you rise, you remind them of their mediocrity. When you succeed, you expose the lie they tell themselves, that they are content with less. Your ascent forces them to face the reality of their own submission. And so, they strike. Think of the colleague who whispers against you, the friend who sabotages you, the stranger who ridicules you. Do you truly believe their actions are about you? No, their actions are mirrors of their own wounds. They seek to break you because they cannot bear to see you stand. This is the psychology of breakers. They do not destroy out of strength, but out of weakness. Their attack is not proof of their power, but confession of their fear. And here lies the Machiavellian advantage. When you understand the motives of those who strike, their power over you dissolves. You no longer see betrayal as tragedy, but as evidence of your rising value. You no longer see resistance as punishment, but as recognition of your strength. Would Caesar have been stabbed had he remained insignificant? Would Napoleon have been hunted across Europe had he stayed a minor general? Would great thinkers and prophets have been silenced had their words not threatened the powers of their time? The very act of being broken is proof that you have become dangerous. Now, reflect. How many times have you taken betrayal personally? How many nights have you wasted asking, "Why me?" The truth is cold because you mattered enough to be resisted. The breaker does not waste energy on the harmless. This is why you must never be surprised by opposition. To rise is to attract envy. To shine is to provoke shadows. To lead is to summon betrayal. So ask yourself, do you want peace or do you want power? For the man who seeks peace must remain small. The man who seeks power must invite the breakers to his door. But there is more. If you are wise, you will not only endure the breakers, you will study them. For every enemy reveals his wound in the very act of striking you. The jealous reveal what they lack. The fearful reveal where they feel vulnerable. The ambitious reveal what they crave. In their attempt to destroy you, they hand you the map of their soul. What greater advantage could you ask for? Do not waste their attacks by drowning in emotion. Dissect them. Turn betrayal into data. Turn envy into a compass. Turn resistance into an X-ray of human nature. For those who attempt to break you are not only enemies, they are textbooks. And if you are ruthless enough to read them, you will possess knowledge that others fear. But beware. The breaker does not always come as an enemy. Sometimes he comes as a friend, sometimes as a mentor, sometimes even as a lover. The closest to you will often be the first to strike, for proximity breeds comparison, and comparison breeds envy. Cain did not strike a stranger. He struck his own brother. So steel yourself. Expect betrayal not from the distant, but from the near. Do not be naive enough to believe love alone shields you from envy. The closer the heart, the sharper the dagger. Now you see the pattern. The breaker is inevitable. He is not a monster born of fate. He is a man consumed by weakness. And his attack is the price of your ascent. The question is not whether they will try to stop you. The question is, what will you do with their attempt? For in the next lesson, we will uncover the cold art of detachment. How to sever your emotions from their manipulations and become immune to the very hands that seek to shatter you. To rule yourself, you must first detach yourself. This is the secret most men never learn. Why? Because men are slaves to their own emotions. They are dragged by anger, seduced by love, broken by fear, and deceived by loyalty. And the moment another man can pull these strings, you are no longer free. You are a puppet. Detachment is the cutting of those strings. But let us be clear. Detachment is not the absence of feeling. It is the mastery of it. It is the ability to feel anger, but not be ruled by it. To feel love, but not be blinded by it. To feel pain, but not collapse beneath it. The detached man plays with emotion as others play with fire. He holds it in his hands, yet never allows it to consume him. History is littered with men destroyed by attachment. Antony, who bound himself to Cleopatra not with strategy, but with passion. His empire slipped from his fingers because he could not separate the lover from the ruler. Samson, blinded not only by Delilah's betrayal, but by his refusal to detach desire from judgment. Even kings become slaves when they fail to sever themselves from their impulses. Now ask yourself, where are you enslaved? Is it the opinion of others that chains you? The fear of rejection, the need to be loved, to be liked, to be approved. Each of these is a leash around your neck, and whoever holds it controls you. But the man who masters detachment is beyond reach. Mock him, and he remains calm. Betray him, and he learns rather than mourns. Threaten him, and he measures before he strikes. He does not waste time wrestling shadows of emotion. He conserves all of it for strategy. Psychology proves this in quiet detail. Studies show that emotional reactivity drains willpower, clouds decision-making, and fuels impulsive choices. Those who detach, those who create a gap between stimulus and response, act with clarity while others drown in chaos. Consider the battlefield. Two generals face each other. One burns with anger, the other waits in silence. Which one holds the advantage? The angry general strikes too soon, blinds himself with rage. The silent one watches, calculates, and destroys his rival with precision. Detachment is silence in the storm. But how do you reach it? You begin with the small. When insulted, do not answer immediately. Pause. When tempted, do not obey instantly. Observe. When betrayed, do not crumble in despair. Study. Every pause is a blade that cuts your leash. Every moment of restraint strengthens your armor. Soon, you will see insults as noise, not wounds. You will see betrayal as instruction, not tragedy. You will see desire as a tool, not a master. And once you reach this state, men will whisper that you are cold. Yes, cold like iron. They will call you unfeeling. Yes, unfeeling toward their manipulations. They will say you lack humanity. Yes, for their definition of humanity is weakness disguised as virtue. The truth is simple: the man who cannot detach will always be owned by someone else. The man who can detach owns himself, and by owning himself, he owns the game. Now reflect on your own life. Think of the last time you were broken by words. The last time rejection shattered you. The last time anger pushed you into a mistake. Did your enemy defeat you, or did your emotions hand him the victory? This is why detachment is not merely survival. It is supremacy. It is the quiet armor no blade can pierce, the fortress no betrayer can scale. The rulers of old wore crowns of gold, but the rulers of themselves wear crowns of silence. The man who masters detachment does not beg. He does not chase. He does not shatter at the whim of others. He calculates. He adapts. He endures. And because he is not chained by feeling, he can chain the feelings of others. He may stir fear when he needs control. He may offer love when he seeks loyalty. He may inspire hope when he demands obedience. But he remains untouched by the very emotions he deploys. This is the highest form of mastery, to play with fire without ever being burned. So I ask you, are you ready to cut the strings? Are you ready to sever the ties that make you a puppet to the world? For in the next lesson, we step beyond detachment. We explore not only how to free yourself from others' judgments, but how to seize control of the very stage on which those judgments are cast. This is the art of dominating perception. Power is not only what you are, it is what you appear to be. This is the principle most men forget. They work endlessly on their strength, their skill, their intelligence. But they neglect the stage upon which all of this is seen. And in neglecting it, they hand victory to those who understand that perception, not reality, rules the world. Think of it. A king may lose his army, his gold, even his allies. But if he keeps the illusion of strength, he still commands obedience. Why? Because men do not serve truth. They serve the image of truth. Consider Alexander. When his soldiers doubted him, he did not retreat to prove his worth with numbers or logic. Instead, he mounted his horse, wounded as he was, and rode before them with calm defiance. The sight of him, unshaken, almost divine, was enough to restore their faith. Perception outweighed reality. Now ask yourself, what image do you project? Do you appear weak when you are strong? Do you appear desperate when you are merely hungry? Do you reveal your wounds when the crowd only respects scars? Understand this: people judge not by what is, but by what they see. Their eyes decide your fate long before truth can speak. This is why rulers carefully manage the theater around them. The Pope dresses in gold not because gold makes him holy, but because men believe it does. Generals ride white horses not because it strengthens their armies, but because men believe it symbolizes victory. Even in your own life, symbols shape more than substance. The man in fine clothes commands attention, while the wise beggar is ignored. Cold psychology confirms what history has always known. Studies reveal that confidence, even when feigned, makes others perceive competence. Authority, even when staged, makes others obey. People prefer appearance to truth, because appearance spares them the effort of thinking. So, if you wish to rise, you must master not only who you are, but how you are seen. You must dominate perception. This means three things. First, control your silence. What you do not say shapes perception as much as what you reveal. If you answer every insult, you appear insecure. If you explain every action, you appear guilty. But if you hold silence, you force others to interpret. And men often imagine greater strength in silence than in endless words. Second, craft your image deliberately. Dress with intent, speak with rhythm, stand with presence. Every detail feeds the eyes of others. Do not dismiss these as vanity. They are tools of command. Julius Caesar knew this. His scarlet cloak became a symbol, one that carried armies forward even when his words could not. Third, control the narrative before others do. If you do not define yourself, others will define you. And once perception hardens, reality bends to it. Spread the story you want others to believe. Repeat it through word, through symbol, through gesture, until it becomes unquestioned fact. Truth can be contested. Perception, once anchored, resists all storms. Now reflect. How many times have you lost not because you lacked strength, but because you lost the theater of perception? How many times have you been right, yet dismissed, because your image carried no weight? This is the tragedy of the unwise. They labor in silence, believing reality will eventually prove them, while others seize the crowd with appearances and rule over them. But do not misunderstand me. Perception alone is not enough. It is the mask that conceals your blade, not the blade itself. A man who is all theater and no substance collapses once the curtain falls. But the man who unites reality with perception, the sword with the mask, becomes untouchable. For when perception works in your favor, even your weaknesses are seen as strengths. Your mistakes are reinterpreted as strategy. Your failures are painted as stepping stones. And when perception turns against your rival, even his strengths are twisted into flaws. The same crowd that praised him yesterday will curse him tomorrow if the story is reshaped. This is the dark art of power. The theater defines the truth. And the wise man does not merely play on the stage. He builds it, lights it, and controls every seat in the audience. So I ask you, are you willing to shape how others see you? Or will you leave your fate in their hands, trusting they will see reality clearly? History answers this for you, they will not. And so, in the next lesson, we move beyond theater. For perception alone cannot protect you. You must become more than an actor. You must become a force. One that no betrayal, no failure, no resistance can bend. This is the making of the unstoppable. Power is never taken by force alone. It is taken by perception, by silence, by the strings you pull while others believe they are free. The weak rule openly and are overthrown. The wise rule invisibly and remain untouchable. Remember this, the greatest control is the kind no one notices. The servant who believes he serves by choice. The rival who thinks he resists, yet walks the path you designed. The friend who swears loyalty, unaware you have already shaped his loyalty to serve you. Is this not the highest art? To command without seeming to command. To break chains without lifting a hand. To bend men not with force, but with their own illusions. Now I leave you with a question. Will you be ruled by the theater of others, or will you become its architect? Comment your thoughts below. Subscribe for more strategies drawn from the darker currents of power and psychology. And share this lesson, so others, too, may glimpse the art of unseen control.